The opinions made in this video do not necessarily coincide with that of Imaginary Goddess, or anyone else for that matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey guys, Ben Wheeler, the Mercenary King, here with a state of play for the TCV2 Genius Strategy. I have been looking forward to this for a long ass time. Like, oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. But now I've got it. Or at least parts of it anyway. And it's just gonna sort of come into me. Eventually. At great costs beyond which you can imagine. But it'll all be taken care of, quite hopefully someday. The cards I have here are the commons and rares from a sneak preview, and I'll just go over all their abilities and whether they're good or not for you, because, you know, that's kind of what I've been doing for the last 2 years. I actually just passed the 2-year mark for the State of Plays. On August 7th. Though I had one recorded before then. But, you know, it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, you know, I just happened to be looking at my State of Plays, and it's, I looked at the date, so it's nice. I should have celebrated somehow. I will have the double rares, triple rares, and GRs in a later video, part of this video. I'm not sure how it'll be done. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here, left to right, or right to left, rather. And start with Great Nature, then I'll do Murakumo, then Mega Colony. Mega Colony. It's just one of those things where it's like, every time they get stuff, we're happy, and then we look at it, and it's like, no, it could have been so much better. But at the same time, we're so happy to have it. So happy to have it. Anyway, I know we just got support, I think, GB3. But it's not the same like what other clans are getting. No, not at all. Not at all. Though honestly, the 3 of these clans are in the same boat. So, scintillating first-year student Little Belly. Big Belly's actually getting quite a bit of support here. This guy's pretty interesting. At the end of your turn, if G-Break 1, this unit is successful, you may retire that unit if you do countercharge 1. What is success? Success is when a rearguard reaches a certain amount of power defined here. In this case, for Little Belly, it's 20k. And then abilities go off. There's actually quite a few abilities like this that are actually quite impressive and can lead to some very interesting combos here. Besides the fact that he's basically a countercharge, he also has tap this unit, choose a rearguard, gets plus 2k. Now, why is that good? First off, there's no G-Break in its early game. Besides being a forerunner, this can then tap itself, give a 9k 2k, so it hits 11k. This doesn't invalidate this ability. So, you know, you can use it. Honestly, it's probably the starter I'm going to start choosing, especially since a lot of my decks kind of run the heavy counterblast, and I need to figure out a way to lighten the load. So we're going to put that away here. Then we have Scholarship Student Aribelli. If you have a Vanguard with Big Bill in the card name, this unit cannot be retired by a card effects. It is not G-Break, by the way. Then we have G-Break 1, Soul Blast, when this unit boosts a rearguard with success. Ability. You may pay the cost. If you do, the boosted unit gets plus 4k until end of battle, until and at the end of the turn, retire that unit. So let's say that you're boosting something that you're going to use Crayon Tiger of. You can use this skill to boost a 9k to be 16k. Then you give and since it's a success card, like say Cornegie, you can give him another plus 4k, and then he gets plus 4k. So he's a 24k attacker before it happens. Now you might say, well, you have to retire something. Well, what if you retire something and you get cards from it with Coiling Duckbill? He's one of the 5 reprints in this set. During your main phase, with this unit is placed on rearguard circle, choose another of your Great Nature rearguard, and when that unit gets in the end phase, when this unit is put in the drop zone from rearguard circle, draw a card. So basically when it dies, you get to draw a card. So this guy isn't really a cost. Besides the fact if you use like Crayon Tiger or Gray Belly, you can actually draw cards off their abilities too. So if you play your cards right, you could actually gain like 3 or 4 cards off of one card's death, especially in this day and age. It's crazy. Problem Child Gray Belly. Success 20,000 power. When your rearguard's power becomes 20,000 or greater, this unit becomes successful. Once per turn, Soul Blast 1. When this unit is successful, by the way, it doesn't need to hit 20k to be successful, something. A rearguard, one of your 2, has to hit, or rather, any of your rearguards just has to hit 20k. When this unit is successful and attacks a Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard with yeah, I think you have to attack the Vanguard. Hold on, I think you have to be successful then attack the Vanguard if I'm reading the wording right. It has to be successful when you attack, yeah. If you have a Vanguard with Big Belly in your card name, you pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 2 of your other rearguards. Until end of turn, they get 4k, and at the end of your turn, draw a card and retire the unit. Basically, what he does is, let's say that you're boosted by... This doesn't really help. Hold on, let me think. Let's say that you're boosting Corny, and you attack. Well, then you attack with this guy. Let's say that he, for some reason, let's say that he somehow hits 20k. I don't know. You're asking too many questions here. Then this unit attacks. Give plus 8k to this guy's column. He's already got plus 4k since he hit 20k earlier. So, in other words, that 24k becomes like 32. It's pretty damn impressive. You just have to run a lot of stands, maybe. You know, I'd probably recommend it. Some sort of restanding ability. Actually, no. The thing about success and these abilities, like on attack or whatever, when it says successful and on attacks, you really have to prepare beforehand. And while it certainly can be done with Big Belly and... oh my goodness, what is his name? It's the guy that Soul Blast 1 gives something plus 8. Big Belly gives plus 4k. That guy gives plus 8 to a unit. So automatically hits this. Then you attack with this, which gives another plus 8. So it becomes successful from Big Belly and the Stride, which of course has forgotten, but I'll probably remember as soon as I finish this video. So it's like 23k. If there's Cornegie, he gets another plus 4k, so he's like 25k or 27k or something like that. Then you give him a booster like Aribelli, which gives him another 7k and 38k. Then you give him another plus 8k, so he's like 46k. Whew! With plenty of draw and on hit, you know, it's actually pretty impressive here. I like him a lot. Next, we come up with the first hamster. Hamske's rival, oil-based pin, Hamjiro. He's so handsome. At the end of your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Hamske, by the way, he counts himself, in your card name, choose one of your other rearguards with Hamske. Retire it if you do counter charge 1. Basically, he gives you free Hamskes. Because Hamske's ability is when this unit is killed, counterblast 1, search out a Hamske, put it onto the field. So in other words, you could be like, I'm going to choose this Hamske. You die, you get another booster. It's pretty interesting. The Hamske deck isn't going to be powerful, but it's going to have some funny combos. Especially since there isn't really any grade 3s that you can muck up with, you know? You just have to choose the right one. Then we have Stapler Penguin. Success, 25,000, which is actually kind of difficult before Vanguard Strike, but it's easy if you got the right cards for it. Auto, Counterblast 1, G-Break 1, Vanguard. When this unit becomes successful, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose a rearguard plus a crit, and at the end of turn, retire that unit. Let's say that somehow you get your rearguard to 25k. This is activated. You have like a Crayon Tiger right here and a Cornegie right here. That Cornegie swing for 29k crit too. Then you boost it with Arabelli and resand it with a Crayon Tiger. all of a sudden that gets to be like 44 or something like that. I'm just doing the numbers off the top of my head with a crit added to whatever crits you added to it. So, like, there's a lot of critting going on. It's actually pretty dangerous. However, that means you didn't stride this turn, and you have to get it up to 25k beforehand, and that's kind of hard. Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1 is units placed on Vanguard Circle, pay the cost. If you do, look at top 5, search for one card with success from among them. Reveal it to your opponent, put it in your hand, shuffle your deck. That's a pretty generic ability, that part, anyway. But I'm actually liking these guys. They're supposed to be combos for the decks that have the keywords, so I think that they'll do it. I saw a post on one of the many Cardfight blogs I follow, are keywords coming back? Well, keywords never really left. The thing is, we just didn't have much use for them for a bit. Then, hold on. Then strides came about, and they needed a way to change up the playing field without just giving so much support to strides that it would make them too OP or too, whatever. Honestly, they're just adding in everyone gets a keyword. Where before it was only like, because like Rush has only 4 cards that have it on there, and like 1 support card. Hold on. Yeah, I think it's like a grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 Dan Shark, and a Stand Trigger, as well as a grade 1 who supports it. They're just throwing it out willy-nilly so that they can basically have it to use later. It's never, like, the epitome of Vanguard isn't so much always using the newest and greatest things, it's using every resource that's available for you to wring out the greatest advantage. And I think there's ways to do that from the old sets. Excuse me. I think they're really mistaking keywords for archetypes there. So success, 25k for lifelong honorary Professor Sylvester. If you have 3 or more rearguards, this unit gets plus 10k, and when this unit becomes successful, draw a card. Honestly, that's not too hard, and the plus a card is actually pretty nice. He's actually a decent use card, however, there's a few other cards that are a little bit better at what he does and give your rearguards more power. However, I would run one of him just to see if I need the plus 10k. Like, there's some people still play like Atmos and stuff like that. You don't need to play Atmos, and most of the time you don't need to play Blizza too. There are ways to get around them. Next we have Crit Trigger Draft, Unicorn. It's okay. Need another thing. Then we have another reprint, Castanet Donkey. It's part of the Musical Animal series. Put this unit, which by the way is the funnest possible deck you can make for Great Nature, next to a Polaris deck. Put this unit into the Soul, choose a Great Nature, and give it plus 3k. Next we have the Stand Watering Elephant. Success, 20k. G-Break 1, put this unit into the Soul when your other rearguard is put into the drop zone during the end phase. If this unit is successful and pay the cost, put it into the Soul. If you do, call the card that was put into the drop zone to open R. Now you have to be careful with this ability because it does say you may pay the cost, but if you mess up the abilities, you can actually lose out on advantage and minus yourself more than you would have if you hadn't have used the ability. So, like, in a deck that, like, Leopold reverses, that returns thing from your death into the field, you can actually minus yourself by using this ability. At the same time, some things just need to die, and you don't need to worry about it, so be careful in using this. Besides that, there's not a lot of work for stands in, by the way, draw the school cafeteria Abyssia. There's not a lot of work for stands in Great Nature. You might be like, well, I don't know, but enough of their abilities stand. So you don't need it. Then we have Chalk Eraser Finnick. Success, 20k. Let's see here. Weird. I'm just reading his flavor text. A course is 3 years for dropping on heads, and 8 years for staining with powder. That's weird. This guy spent 3 years to learn how to prank. Anyway, this unit is successful. Soul Blast 1, when this unit is put into the drop zone from rearguard during the end phase, you may pay the cost if you do draw a card. Really, he's not the most useful thing ever, mostly because the card advantage you get is pretty choice anyway, but also just because he doesn't seem to do much. It's one of those things where you've got things like Coiling Duckbill, or Arabelli. And Coiling Duckbill is a 4 of in every deck. Like, oh yeah. Like, he's still a 4 of in every deck, and he came out with the first Great Nature stuff that actually gave it its own deck, and I'm not counting the set 2 stuff that came out with just like 4 cards. You know, the thing about this guy is he's good in a budget deck. He's good in a deck that doesn't give you much draw but still retires. But he still needs to hit success, and you still need to pay resources for it. And again, if you don't use like Coiling Duckbill and stuff like that, it's just not going to end well for you. And excuse me, Soul is actually a very rare occurrence in Great Nature. So you have to be careful with it anyway, especially with that certain stride I keep mentioning. It gives that plus AK for a Soul Blast. Next we have Hamske's rival, Crayon Hamzo. The day came to an end while deciding which to use. Oh, this guy. He's got a giant backpack and a spatula. He's a little chef more than he is a school student. When the student is put in the drop zone from our counterblast 1 during your end phase, you may pay the cost if you do look at 4 cards from the top of the deck. Search for 1 Hamske, which includes every Hamske card. In the card name among them, reveal it to your opponent, put it in the hand shuffle deck. Basically, let's say you combine this with this, you could potentially basically get a Hamske for free, or more logically, this guy with this guy, you basically get a free Hamske to hand. Now, I don't recall there being any like Hamske support in like the double or triple rares. Certainly not the triple rares. I don't seem to recall any in the double rares either. But if there are any, I'll cover them when they come out. So it's like one of those things. It's like you can do it, but you know, sort of thing. We'll see how he turns out. Honestly, I like him though. I like him a lot because he guarantees like you thin the deck out and stuff. Hamske's classmate, Mechanical Pencil Hammy. Choose a normal Hamske card from the top drop zone and put it in the bottom of the deck, which is nice because it means you don't thin out your deck as much. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, pay the cost you do. Choose one of your other rearguards with Hamske in his card name. That unit and this unit get plus 4k until end of turn, and retire the unit chosen with this effect. So actually you don't choose her to die. You choose the other person. Let's say she's boosted by Hamzo. 15k, right? Nah, you give it plus 8k for 23k. Now, when you do that, guess what? Some success activates. Huzzah. But don't worry about that. But also, it hits numbers. It works pretty well. And she's cute to boot. Then we have Anchor Rabbit. By the way, the Hamske deck is weird. And I'll talk about it when the time's right. That is to say, when I build one. So don't worry about that too much. Like, it's weird. Don't worry. But they've got some interesting interactions that you can really take advantage of. Success, 20k, Anchor Rabbit. G-Break 1, Counterblast 1. When this unit becomes successful, pay the cost if you do stand this unit, and at the end of the turn, retire this unit. This unit gets boost until end of turn for a Counterblast in G-Break 1. So here's the thing about this. First off, you can use it as a booster or a restanding unit. But the thing is, how do you use it? Well, it's pretty interesting, actually. Basically, you swing with it for 14k, let's see. Then we attack it with we attack with Crayon Tiger. Restand, it is now 12k. Swing again. So, then what happens is, hold on. Excuse me. Gross. Then what happens, why am I sneezing so much? Then what happens is you attack with that certain stride. Soul Blast 1, give it plus 8k, so it hits 20k. And now becomes successful, so you counterblast, restand it, plus whatever triggers you gave it. And you can restand the booster behind it for another counterblast. So it's like counterblast 3, I guess, 2, actually. and then you swing again with something like 30-something K. Anchor Rabbit's a pretty good card. However, there's a lot of really good support out for Great Nature, and I don't think we'll be seeing much play with it. But we'll see. I hope we do. It's an interesting card. I hope we see some people do some interesting combos. Archaeology Junior Cornegie. Success 20k, which we've just demonstrated is super easy. If this unit is successful, plus 4k. Now, he doesn't retire at the end of turn, which is good. So you can really get some use out of him. But at the same time, all he does is get plus 4k. And really, there isn't much we can really say about him other than he's a beater who gets more power when other things get more power. Good job. Good boy. Who's a good boy? Who's a good archaeologist? Anyway. Why did I mix in... Hold on. Well, I'm not coming down with something. Then we have Field Glass Otter. Success, 20k. G-Break 1. This unit is placed on rearguard. Choose one of your other rearguards. It gets plus 4k. And at the end of the turn, retire that unit. At the end of the turn, if this unit is successful and pay the cost... Sorry, at the end of turn, if this unit is successful, which again is super easy to do, you may return this unit to hand. This is actually one of those units, if you don't have a deck that easily gives rearguards power before attacking, he's actually one of the guys to go to, because when you play him, he gives plus 4k. Now let's say that you also play, I don't know, this guy? Actually, yeah, these two would actually be a natural combo. So you give him plus 4k, he boosts something that's already like 11k, or something that's like, like, it boosts something like, say, Compass Line, it hits 21k, it becomes successful, it gains the abilities, it retires, you Soul Blast 1, you draw a card, you return this to hand, and then you can do abilities over again depending on how you set up your field and what's in your hand and what you drew off the Fennec Fox, among other things. A lot of stuff you can really do, and only your imagination limits you with this stuff. You might be like, well, it's pretty simple. You just give something plus 4k. Right. But what can you do with the plus 4k is what I'm asking. And that's can be enough to tip the balance of scales in your favor. Lastly, we have Ink Panda. Success, 20k. Once per turn, when this unit is successful and attacks the Vanguard, draw a card until end of turn, and at the end of the turn, retire the unit. So you can't just keep on resetting it with Crayon Tiger to attack. This really isn't a good card, but it's a good budget card, and there might be something that you can do for it. It looks like he accidentally erased his black spots on his leg and is now inking it back in. I don't think that's how fur pigment works, but hey, what do I know? Murakumo. Stealth Demon of Crow Feathers, Fugen. Forerunner, Shadow Stitch, which is an ability with no real definition, but it activates, and that's the Shadow Stitch. And I'll show you what it means. It basically, you create shadow clones of things, and mess your field up with more shadow clones with that. It's not established like these two are, which is why I say that they're kind of just throwing things at the wall. Here, and especially since almost nothing really plays with Shadow Stitch, except to have Shadow Stitch ability, which they didn't really need to have a ability name to begin with anyway, so I don't know. At the end of the battle, your unit attacked a Vanguard. This unit was boosting. This unit attack did not hit. Choose an open rearguard circle in the back row, and you may move this unit to that rearguard circle. If you move this unit, stay in this unit. So here's something interesting. Let's say that you're running Hayaki Vague, and you swing with a Hayaki Vague. You can then move it, after you attack and all that jazz, you can move it to right here, swing with this one again. Move it over here. Now Hayaki Vague is actually a bad example because you lock the rearguard circles. But let's just say you had to put him out in a desperation play. This guy makes sure that all your columns can hit plus 16k. Now, of course, this does mean that they can't let it hit, but if your opponent is at 5 damage, that's a guarantee. I'm actually going to be using this guy because I find his ability interesting, and I think I can use it to save cards from hand, or if I don't have any real thing going on with my field, this guy can really save my bacon. Tap this unit. Act Rearguard Circle. Choose a normal unit from your drop zone, put it in the bottom of the deck. If that card had Shadow Stitch, choose one of your units, and it gets plus 3k. I'm never going to use it for that ability unless I want to. Yeah. Shadow Stitch, Stealth Dragon Onibayashi. Rearguard G-Break 1 at the end of battle. Your unit, any unit on the field, attacked the Vanguard, including your Vanguard, and the attack did not hit until end of turn. This unit gets put this unit into your soul. When your unit attack hits a Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard with Shadow Stitch, which is all of the new... Hold on, let me check something. He doesn't have Shadow Stitch. She doesn't. I think the Yasui and the GR, boop, does have Shadow Stitch though. And with the Shadows, or you have a Vanguard with Yasui, which is pretty much guaranteed, because Yasui is probably the best Vanguard Murakumo has right now. You may pay the cost if you do draw a card and countercharge. So basically, if you don't hit the first time, but you hit the second time, you put this guy into soul, draw a card, and countercharge 1. Honestly, he's pretty good if you copied a bunch of him, but you just have to be careful not to lose them. Like, if you run 4 and you put out all 3, just send all 3 to soul if you can. Because you'll draw 3 cards, so you'll turn your Shadow Stitch, of which 2 of them are shadows, into real card advantage, which is always, always a good thing. Gotta stop shaking the table. It's driving me nuts. And I'm sure it's driving you nuts. But it's, one of those things. Okay. Anyway, I like this card. I'll actually be running about 4 of it because my grade 1 lineup isn't to my satisfaction. Let's see here. I thought I heard something. No. Stealth Beast Trick Arts. When this unit is placed on rearguard, choose one of your units. If you have another unit with the same card name as that unit, search your deck for up to 1 Dueling Dragon and its card name. Reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. If you put a card into your hand, choose a card from your hand, put it into your soul. Basically, he helps make sure that Dueling Dragon's Zangeki goes off. That's it. I don't think there's only 2 Dueling Dragons, Zanbaku and Zangeki. And Zanbaku is an interesting motherfucker, but he's not going to show up too much. Stealth Dragon Yasha Bayashi. Stealth Dragon Yasha Bayashi. G-Break 1, Soul Blast 1. When this unit is placed on rearguard circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, this unit gets plus 2k, so it's an 11k attacker. And Shadow Stitch. Rearguard circle. At the end of battle, this unit attacked a Vanguard. If that attack did not hit, countercharge 1. Choose one of your units, and that unit gets plus 2k. If you have a grade, and then this is a continuous rearguard circle. If you have a grade 4 or greater Vanguard with Yasui in its card name, this unit can attack the Vanguard from the back row. Basically, let's say that you stride onto Yasui, the stride with Yasui Heart. You copy this guy, you put him in the back row. These abilities start compounding. So you get a lot of bang for your buck, and then once they go into the... Let's see, if you can find some way to send them to the bottom of the deck, you can actually use Yasui to bring them back out. It's pretty interesting ability, and honestly, one of the reasons why Shadow Stitch will be such an interesting thing to work around. Especially since this guy countercharges, which means you can use up a lot more counterblasts than you usually could with Murakumo, and gain the advantages of it. And besides, the plus 2k is pretty sweet too. Stealth Beast Slicer Wolf. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard with Dueling Dragon, again Zangeki or Zanbaku, this unit gets plus 2k. In the right column of the front row, rearguard circle, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard with Dueling Dragon, Zangeki or Zanbaku, in its card name, if you have a unit with Stealth Beast Stab Fang in your left column, this gets plus 5k. So basically it's a 16k attacker by itself as long as you have Dueling Dragons, which is very nice. Honestly, I'm not going to be playing Dueling Dragons, but their deck is pretty interesting, and it's got a lot of complexity to it that I think some people are going to appreciate and others not so much. Then we have Sword Hunter Stealth Rogue Oniwaka, Shadow Stitch. Auto, Rearguard Circle, G-Break 1, Counterblast 1. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked a Vanguard. If it did not hit, pay the cost. If you do, choose 2 units, other units, and they get plus 3k. So basically you give a column plus 6k, or you boost 2 different columns above 21k. That's how you should use it. If you're not using it like that, I don't know what to tell you. It's not that hard. Like, these guys give each other power. It's pretty crazy, you know. It's not hard to figure this out. And 3k is enough to hit cross rides and all that jazz. Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1. It's top 5 for a Shadow Stitch card and put it into your hand when you ride it on the Vanguard Circle. It's a pretty generic thing. Like, there's at least one of these for every clan now, and they're all pretty decent. Then we have Ambush Demon Stealth Rogue Kiyohime. She looks like she's got some sort of dragon snake thing going on. I love it, I love it, love it, love it, love it. Enough to burn to death. Good job. Yeah. Maybe I don't invite her to the ball or something like that. She might kill all my relatives or something, I don't know. Don't get crazy, guys. Don't go for crazy. Soul Blast 1, with this unit attack hits a Vanguard, pay the cost if you do, choose a rearguard, search a copy for it, call it to rearguard, shuffle deck, at the end of the turn, return that unit to hand. Basically, it turns Shadow Stitch units back into free stuff. You can actually use it to hit like a Perfect Shield or something like that, return that to hand, so you can do it, but that means you have to either you have to get a Perfect Shield there somehow way, and that might not be the best way. But honestly, she's a pretty alright kind of card. It's just that the build you have to understand why she's using it. There's also a Stride that searches out a copy, and if it's the same copy as Lady of Snow's, whatever her name was. I'm sorry, I'm really tired, guys. It's the Snow Maiden one that is Counterblast 1, Limit Break 4. When your unit is attacked, discard a copy of the Vanguard from your hand, and this unit gets minus 20k, which is actually still good in the Vanguard era, Stride era. Stealth Beast Foxfire. It's a draw. It's nice. Then we have Stealth Beast Drenched Serpent. I like this card. You cannot escape from that tail. Ooh, that's creepy. Shadow Stitch. Rearguard G-Break 1. Put this unit in the bottom of the deck. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked the Vanguard. If this unit was boosting and the attack did not hit, pay the cost. If you do, we'll put it to the bottom of the deck. Countercharge, Soul Charge, choose a unit plus 4k. Honestly, that isn't too bad. And it can do some things, and there are some ways you can use it to boost a unit to, say, hit 21k with the 7k booster. There's a lot of use for her here, and it's always nice to have a stand with an ability. Plus, the Countercharge and Soul Charge might be useful, depending on what you do. Then we have another reprint, Stealth Beast Cat Devil. Put this unit into the Soul, choose up to one of your Murakumo, and they get plus 3k. And then we have a Heal Stealth Rogue, Hineo Komachi. That breast line, oof. And these legs, oof. Heal trigger. Lake Diver, reprint, however, different art, which is nice. It's actually really good art. It was a promo before, so I can see why they did it. Counterblast 1, G-Break 1 with units placed on Rearguard Circle. You may search up to 2 Lake Divers, call them the separate Rearguard Circle at the end of the turn. Put those units in the bottom of the deck in any order. Basically, yeah, you know, he just summons out 2 buddies. He makes Homer Raider really easy. In fact, this deck, like cards like this guy and the Stand Trigger, do work with Homer Raider under certain circumstances. Then we have Stealth Dragon Mangy Shooter, Shadow Stitch, Rearguard. Put this unit in the bottom of the deck. At the end of battle, this unit attacked a Vanguard. If this unit was boosting, attack did not hit, pay the cost. If you choose a unit, it gets plus 5k. So let's say that you swing with something, it didn't hit, you put Mangy Shooter into the bottom of the deck, give something else plus 5k. That, if it's boosted, that'll hit over 21k plus whatever triggers you give it from the Rearguard Circle. I mean, from the Vanguard Circle. It's a pretty good card, pretty simple. Honestly, I do want to try it out, see what I can do with it in certain builds, namely my Hayaki Vague build. On times I'm not running Hayaki Vague Reverse. Stealth Beast, Drawn Shifter. Act, rearguard circle, not G-Break, once per turn. Let's see here. Counterblast, if you have a Vanguard with dueling dragons, choose a unit. If you have another unit, same card name as that unit, choose up to 2 of your rearguards until end of turn, they get plus 2k. And this unit and the ability Continuous, this unit can attack your opponent's Vanguard from the back row. Which is good if they're at 5, but not so good if they trigger. So you got to be careful on how you use these guys from the back row. Because there are no boosters, you do have to be careful. Stealth Fiend, Awako Hime. Shadow, Stitch, Rearguard, G-Break 1. Choose a Rearguard boosting this unit and put them on the bottom of the deck. So it loses the boost, by the way. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked a Vanguard. If the attack did not hit, pay the cost. If you do choose a Vanguard until end of turn, it gets Continuous. During the battle, this unit attacks. It cannot call Gray Zeros to hand. Again, this is a great card to run with, I think, Manji Shooter, which actually activates on the same time. And if I'm recalling the rules correctly, like how you can use Gear Chronicles Upstream Dragon with a TikTok worker, you should be able to get both the plus 5k to something and this ability, which is always very nice. Which I'm not sure. I think it's in the order. No? Yeah, I think it's in the order. We'll see about that. So, Stab Beast, Stealth Beast, Stab Fang. Counterblast 1, this unit placed on the left and front row. If you have Vanguard with dueling dragons, pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your units not with name Stab Fang. Search for a card name of the same type. Call it a rearguard circle. End of turn, put the unit in the bottom of the effect. I don't actually like this guy. I think the Counterblast, for basically a generic ability that's already been doing, and doesn't need dueling dragons, it doesn't really work. Doesn't work for me. Yeah, it just doesn't really do anything. It works best with the other guy, but he's the worst of the two by a big margin. And there's no reason to have multiple of them unless... Can this guy attack from the back row? Nope. It cannot attack from the back row. So there's no... It's not really worth it. Like, the thing is that you can run it, but... you gotta be careful about it. Stealth Dragon Dual Weapon, Shadow, Stitch. Auto, Rearguard Circle, retire this unit. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked a Vanguard. This attack did not hit. You may pay the cost. Retire this unit. If you do, choose one of your grade 1 or grade 3 Rearguards. Search your deck for up to one of them with the same card name as that unit. Call it to Rearguard Circle. Shuffle deck, end of turn. Put that unit to the bottom of the deck. So basically, what he does is he gets you another attack. And because he limits it to grade 3s and grade 1s, it prevents you abusing it with some things. Now, then there's this guy who's a rearguard ability, who's an excellent choice. Honestly, I'd run these two in a dual weapon with a deck with Oniwaka, simply because their abilities will synergize really well. Especially since you can attack with this guy first. Didn't hit. Copy this guy, and then move on. Also, what you can do is you can boost, retire it, copy a booster, give the boosters or something. Or, no, that won't work. Whoops, almost tripped myself off there. But let's say that you had like one of these on a rearguard circle behind the Vanguard because you didn't want to waste an only Fuko's ability. So you basically copy this, put it in the spot where this used to be, then have another one on the side, and then copy their booster and put it behind that so that you get another attack of these. But, that's a little bit complicated and probably not the best move you can make here. However, Ink-Dyed Stealth Rogue Minesuke is an excellent choice. Shadow, Stitch, Vanguard, Rearguard to the unit battle. This unit attacked Vanguard. If it didn't hit, choose one of your other units plus 5k. Basically, you can give up to plus 10k to like a single unit if you have one on your Vanguard and Rearguard circle. However, the ability is kind of bad and it's a 10k defense. So honestly, this guy's a little bit more useful, but at the same time, there is a triple rare grade 3 And a double rare grade 3. No, that's Zangeki, never mind. You know, there's plenty of other grade 3s you can run, and even Zangeki just has to be run with Zanbaku. So she's not going to see a lot of play. And honestly, she's only really good in budget. Or in decks that, you know, doesn't need to stride. Yeah, she doesn't need to stride. All in all, really good. I think Murakumo support is the weakest of the three, simply because it is extremely restrictive. It is restricted to Dueling Dragons, to Shadow Stitch, and to Yasui. And that wouldn't normally be bad, but the abilities are lackluster, with Manji, Awako Hime, and maybe Dual Weapon being the best of them. Of the commons anyway, with Yashabayashi being restricted and Onibayashi kind of being restricted to Yasui's. You know, it's one of those things where it's good, but you really do have to be careful. Murakumo is one of the hardest. In fact, all of these decks are hard to build for. I guarantee you, if you master one of these decks, like really master it, you can really up your game as a card fighter. But the thing is that they are all hard to build. They require a genius strategy. That will, in fact, kind of define how you play the game for most of this stuff. What the fuck is wrong with these Mega Colony cards? You know, it's one of those things where if you think about it hard enough, if you believe, if you figure out what's going on with either of these things, if you don't throw your cards around like an idiot, you know, you're going to do just fine. You know, it's like one of those things, repeat after me, you're going to do just fine. You know, and hopefully you do just fine. But you do have to keep your wits about you. Mega Colony is mostly Dark Face, Machining, and generic support, but there's some really interesting stuff, especially with their new ability, Dark Device. Dark Device's skill is active when your opponent has no tapped units in the same column as this unit. This one for Childhood Command Rosenberg, which is a Forerunner, and is used in all the decks nowadays. Put this unit into the soul, choose one of your rear guards, opponent's rear guards, and until end of turn, your opponent's units gets continuous. This unit cannot intercept and cannot be chosen by the effects of your other cards, of your cards. Effects and cost of your cards. Basically, it screws up Tachikaze, it screws up Shadow Paladins. I can literally choose something like David Hasselhoff, the starter that counts for 2, and basically say he's not going to die this turn. They ride Aura Geyser. Instead of having a -1 to get a +2, they have to -2 themselves or waste other cards and keep David on there. Which can be good or bad depending on the setup, so do be careful when you use them there, friend. Sometimes it's better to wait until they do the PBD thing, you know? His ability is also tap this unit, rearguard circle, choose one of your opponent's units and tap it. Sadly, you can only use it on your turn, but eventually they'll give Mega Colony the ability to mess with the opponent on their turn. Well, wait. They already did. Someday they'll make it even better. Then we have Vulcan Laferty. Dark Device. G-Break 1, Rearguard Circle. Put this unit into the soul at the beginning of your main phase. You may pay the cost if you do countercharge 1. So basically, he fuels Dark Face. Because his other ability is Continuous Rearguard Circle. If you have a Vanguard with Dark Face in its card name, this unit cannot, it has resist. Only for the opponent's cards, by the way. And your opponent's unit in the same column cannot intercept. So basically, you hit it 1 on every side, they've lost at least 10k in guard. And they have to use resources like the Nova Grappler Gimmick Perf to really, you know, see some action with him. Honestly, he's pretty good and a 4 of in every Dark Face deck. Machining Dive Beetle. This guy's not good. Vanguard Rearguard Circle. Counterblast 1. Choose all of your units named Machining Dive Beetle. Stand them and they get plus 2k until end of turn. This unit cannot stand during your stand phase. It's bad. Like, it's real bad. You know, it's one of those cards that really didn't need to be made. Like, machining needs support, right? But the problem is the support, if it's bad support, it doesn't really help machining. Like right now they have one of the strongest strides in the game. Machining's only use machining decks, right? So their stride is Carapace, Mutant Destroyer, Deity. Carapace C is the Mutant Destroyer Carapace. I don't know. Carapace Deity. And it's Counterblast 1 if you have 4 or more machining units and you have a Machining Heart and Machining Counterblast, you can stun the Vanguard and a Rearguard. It's really good. So stuff like this is interesting, but honestly, I don't see why they made it, and I don't see what useful is it other than getting 11k attackers, of which there were already buttloads. So, you know, in fact, they have one that re-sands stuff when it attacks, so, you know, on hits, rather. So it's like, and plus it's an act. I don't know, maybe they chose something that you can, like, Soul Blast for abilities, or rather pull from Soul, because that's what Machining also does. And then, because it comes in tapped, you can re-sand it, I guess. Again, I'm not really impressed with that card. Punish Stag, Dark Device, G-Break 1. When this unit is placed on Rearguard Circle, if you have a Vanguard with Dark Face, this unit gets plus 2k. Choose one of your opponent's Rearguards until end of next turn. This opponent gets, at the end of your turn, if this unit is in tapped, your opponent draws a card. In other words, I draw a card. Because it's the card across from me that's gaining this ability, and thus I would get it. Anyway, and that unit cannot stand to your opponent's like sand face. Basically, you place it down. It's like a Machining Popolo. You stun something. If it's tapped, you get to draw a card. And then, of course, you have things like Dark Face, which means it cannot be killed for abilities, which means it's even less useful to your opponent. Which really, you know, makes it a fantastic card. Hopefully, though, it really does make Dark Face a lot better. And the plus 1k makes it an 11k attacker, which is just so useful at all times. Fortunately, it is G-Break, so you can wait to use it. But at the same time, I'm really sad that it is only on placement. But then again, you can have such a thing as too much stun. But then again, Link Joker doesn't seem to think so, you know, fuck them. Then we have... I'm not salty. Not at all. Despot, Mutant, Marie Antoinette. Why can't they just call her Marie Antoinette? I don't know. So, Dark Device, Rearguard Circle, Counterblast 1 when this unit attacks a Vanguard. Pay the cost if you do. This unit gets plus 3k for each of your opponent's rearguards in the same column. Until end of battle. Basically, you can use it as a beater. So it hits for like 17k. With something like Scarlet Venom. Where is he? Which gets plus 2k for every rearguard in the same column as this unit, as long as they're tapped. So plus 4k, so he's an 11k here. You can hit for 28k, which is pretty brutal. Plus there's a Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, top 5 for a Dark Device. I actually have ideas for her with a Cyclomatis deck, which will basically mean I break ride Marie Antoinette and then have Marie Antoinette on the side. And you just sort of use the abilities to boost up for power, for beating, while stunning your Vanguard. You know, it's one of those kind of weird decks. But we'll see what happens with it. Honestly, I'm a little disappointed with it. I kind of hoped it would have more, like, stunning abilities, but hey, you know, it gets us a Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1 card for Dark Device, which all Dark Devices are useful. Like, very few Dark Devices are not useful. I'll point them out and shame them for it. A-Rank Mutant, Sangarafa. Vanguard Circle, Rearguard Circle, Counterblast 1. When this unit attacks, it's a Vanguard. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Giraffe in the card name, pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your opponent's Rearguards. Tap it until end of your opponent's next turn. It gets, when this unit is put into the drop zone from Rearguard Circle or Guardian Circle. So in other words, it keeps the ability wherever it is. So they can't just like move it, intercept with it, and be like, ha 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 ha. Choose one of your opponent's Rearguards and retire it. And that unit cannot stand during your opponent's next stand phase. Not only does it stop something from standing, it basically punishes them for retiring it. And the funny thing is that you can actually, if you do this right with these guys, you can actually set a chain off where they kill something, And, oh, by the way, if you attack a rearguard and they let it die, he also goes off. So in other words, you can hit something, hit the Vanguard, stun something, swing at it with another rearguard, and the opponent's like, sure, whatever, and then it's like, ha, got you in a trap, kill something else. And you just keep killing things. And if you do it right, you can just get like several off, but Jirafa's skill has always been the weird one of Mega Colony in that he retires stuff. And honestly, Mega Colony retire is some of the weirdest in the game because oftentimes it screws you over as much as the opponent. But it's kind of like a suicide bomb, I guess, which is disturbing for a criminal syndicate, but whatever. Allahuak bug. Allahuak bug. We had fun here. Dazzling Mutant Deity, Waspy Tail. Soul Blast 1, she's a face down card from your G zone, turn it face up. She's good because she gets you immediately to G Break 2 on hit. If you do, choose one of your opponent's units and all of your opponent's rearguards on the rearguard in the same column and row as the Vanguard rearguard circle that unit is on cannot stand. So what you do is, there's 5 rearguard circles, right? Hold on. Right, so you can choose, like, your Vanguard circle, their Vanguard circle, but the problem is the Vanguard cannot be stunned in this way, because it only chooses rearguards for the stunning ability. So basically, if you choose the Vanguard, here, and here will not restand, which is really good. It's a triangle stun. Or you can do right here. This, and this will be stunned. Or you can do here. This is stunned. Which is actually the worst one. If you choose like a top front row, that's bad. Any one of the corners and the Vanguard circle is the best choice, depending on what their field lineup is. If they only have a Vanguard circle, just hit the rearguard. Hit the Vanguard and then hit the rearguard as well. You know, just because. And then you hit them with Obturandus. No, I'm kidding. Don't use Obturandus this early. And then you sort of just use the ability to stun everything. And then you keep them on lockdown until later. Her only flaw is the on-hit. Originally, she was translated out that she could only do like a column or a row. And we were like, but then it was like column and row. And we're like, pretty good stuff. Waspy Tail is definitely one of in every deck. Machining Butterfly, crit trigger. He's got shivs. He's got 4 shivs. Then we have Makeup Widow, who is one of the more disturbing cards in the deck. First off, she's a spider, obviously a Black Widow. And makeup means to pull a hoax. She's like one of those prostitutes. It's like, you know, you pop up there, it's like, bam, undercover cop. Or, bam, AIDS. That got real, didn't it? Dark Device, G-Break 1. This is actually a really good card. Put this unit into the soul at the end of turn. End of each turn, Vanguard or your turn or their turn, countercharge 1, choose one of your opponent's grade 1 or less units, and that unit cannot stand during your opponent's next stand phase. So basically, you go, pop. Your grade 1 cannot stand. I countercharge 1, and I fueled Dark Face. What now? Really good card. I'd certainly run 2 or 3 of her over the guy who just gives me more cards, because this deck gives me a lot of cards, especially with all the stuff that you can do here. Ingot Chafer. Even when you are planning tricks, you first need this. First need is this. Put this unit into the soul, choose one of your Mega Colony cluster. Okay. Honestly, he just fuels Darkface. Machining Honeybee, another Honeybee heal. I like the Moth better. Bullet Mutant Pillbugler. Dark Device. Pillbugler? Anyway, Pillbugler. Soul Blast 1. At the beginning of the guard step of your Vanguard was attacked, pay the cost. If you do, move this unit to G. This unit gets plus 5k guard. Honestly, I don't like him too much. He's a really good card in general, because he's basically a free 10k shield. Well, Soul Blast 1 10k shield, but for Darkface he uses up so much soul that you really got to be careful with this. You know, it doesn't really work out well for you if you don't use him right. He's one of the weaker cards in this set. He's like second weakest in my opinion for the grade 1s. And, he just won't see a lot of use. Also, he's a 6K, which doesn't really help things. You have to run like 12Ks and 11Ks to make up for it. Mega Colony Battler E. We have gone through the alphabet up to E. At some point, I hope to see a Z. And it's one of those zombie bugs. You know what it's like? It gets the mold and it turns it into a zombie. Anyway. Retire this unit, G-Break 1. When your Vanguard attacks, if all units of all fighters are tapped, pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your Vanguards that gets plus 10k until end of battle. So, like, let's say you have 3 in the back row for some reason, and they're all tapped. And then your Vanguard attacks, you can retire all 3 and get plus 30k to a Vanguard. For whatever reason. So, like a 61k. Yeah, I guess a 61k. Paraspear, if you ever wanted that. I don't want that. This is actually the weakest grade 1 in my opinion. Then we have Scarlet Venom Dark Device. When this unit is placed on rearguard circle, when this unit gets plus 2k for for each of your opponent's rearguards in the same column as this unit. I don't like this guy for the simple reason that he is only on placement. And there's no way to take him back. Now, a very powerful deck showed up with Scarlet Venom that apparently used him to great effect. I dig. He can help things hit like 21k because for each of your opponent's rearguards in the same column, well, that's plus 4k to him. So he's an 11k booster. With Arista Scythe, that's like 22k. And he's not even limited to G-Break. That's great. But at the same time, I don't really feel that he does a lot for it. I'm going to test him out, see how he does. He's not as weak as Mega Colony Battler or Pill Bugler. I think it's supposed to be Pill Burglar, but whatever. Bugler. Pill Bugler. It's just an interesting card. Machining Cricket. Tap this unit. If you have a Vanguard with Machining in the card name, choose one of your opponent's rearguards in the same column. It cannot stand during the opponent's next sand phase. This unit cannot stand during the opponent's next sand phase. During your next sand phase. So basically, he sacrifices himself to lock down another unit. So you just go, that one. Tap it. And then for 2 turns, both of them can't be used. But what Mega Colony has been doing with its machining is finding ways to restand it. Like with Machining Hornet Mark II. Which is on hits, choose something, restand it. Stun something. So basically, you can keep it there, not do anything with it, and then, like a boost with it on the next turn, or actually, you can just keep going with it. Like if you find ways to restand it, and you let it go past the next stand phase, you can just keep using the ability and stun something every turn with it. It's a really interesting card here, and can be used to stun whole columns if you're careful enough, especially with the starters and whatnot. There is not a new machining starter, which is a pity. A-rank mutant Gra Garafa. Rearguard circle once per turn. Counterblast 1 if you have a Vanguard with Girafa in its card name. Choose one of your opponent's rearguards, tap it, and this unit gets plus 2k. I'm never going to use it for that ability. Hand. Discard this card. If you have a card named Larva Mutant Girafa, on your Vanguard, search your deck for a Pupa Mutant Girafa, which is the second part of it, write it as stood, and shuffle deck. When you write it, you summon out the grade 2 and return that to hand. So basically, discarding this guy is more useful than writing the grade 1 from hand, which is the weirdest thing ever. Because the grade 1 booster for Girafa is more precious than anything else, and because it does get the cards anyway, it works. It does a lot of work. Honestly, it's one of the better cards to come out here, and its ability is so subtle, but it makes a world of difference. Instead of having just 4 chances out of 49 to get the grade 1 you needed, you now have 8 chances, which is almost guaranteed at that. Almost guaranteed. I mean to say that between it and the mulligan, you should have one for it, which is excellent odds. And Mega Colony is all about evening the odds in your favor. Like a holdout pistol. Hand shot first, Cyclic Sickle Mutant Arista Scythe. Vanguard Circle, Rearguard Circle, Dark Device. Basically, she's a lot better Tail Joe. When this unit attacks, this unit gets plus 2k until end of battle, so it's an 11k attacker pretty much at all times. It doesn't like keep gaining stuff with like a stand, but at the same time with a stand you just attack for 16k again, which doesn't matter too much. So here's the secret to Orisa Scythe. It is the best beater in Vanguard. Sorry, not Vanguard, for Mega Colony. It's not bound by G-Break, it's not bound by any restrictions other than Dark Device, and if Dark Device is not on, your opponent wasted cards and attacks. Which is a good thing. Hopefully you took advantage of that. Mega Colony is all about taking advantages. In fact, all three of these series is all about taking advantages, and I'll talk about them in a second. But basically, this is the card you run. If you're choosing between Buster Mantis and this card, choose this card first, then see if you have room for Buster Mantises. Which, if you're running Darkface, you don't. Guarantee it. Yeah, there's not much else to say about this thing other than you should run it, and it's probably the best thing in this series. And you might be like, Ben, it's just plus 2k though. Yeah, but it's plus 2k basically all the time, and when it attacks anyway. And there's all kinds of combos that you can do with it to harass your opponent more than what the actual threat is. Next we have Hypnotic Mutant Hypnomoth. Continuous Rearguard Circle Device. I wish it was Vanguard Circle too. When this unit gets plus 1k for every other unit with Dark Device ability. Actually, in a Dark Device deck, this guy's super strong, stronger than Orisa Scythe, but honestly, you actually run these two together. So, like Dark Device grade 2s, you have Orisa Scythe, Hypnomoth, and I think there's one more here. I could have sworn there is. Yeah, Punish Stag, but honestly, you don't run Punish Stag with all these. Well, you could. You could run Punish Stag with this, so you basically can guarantee yourself 5 rearguards with Dark Device, which means that this hits for 20 or so. But honestly, like it's a little bit of an overrated card, but it's actually really good. Assuming your Vanguard has Dark Device as well. Also, it's a defensive card. It cannot be attacked by rearguards. So, like, if you have it in the front, like this, and then there's like 3 Dark Device cards in the back row, plus 5, it's 13k. They can't hit that with a Tidal Assault. He's just a really good card. Not as good as Orisa Scythe, but he's just really good. So, what are the themes of all 3 decks? Of all 3 clans? Well, this theme is killing your own units to gain advantage. This is copying your own units to gain advantage. This is using your units to stop the other guy from using his units to his advantage. Of these 3 decks, Mega Colony came out strongest when you count all of their support. Like, everything did it. Murakumo has the most creative stuff, while Great Nature probably has the most solid support all round. But their GR is the weakest of the 3 GRs. Not in power. Actually, it's the strongest powerful one. But in weakest in terms of all it is a stall plus a very powerful attack. So really with these 3 decks, like you can master any of these, build the deck from this series, and you can have a very interesting time playing it. Again, this is the TCB for people who like the complex decks and high synergy deck interactions. You might be like, but Ben, everything's moving to a sort of like a singularity of symmetry. Sure, but these decks stand head and shoulders above with what they can do. Once I get my hands on some Opterandi, once these guys come out, once a Frank shows up, but actually a Frank isn't even the most powerful stride in that, it's Big Belly. You'll see some pretty interesting and terrifying combinations going on that hopefully you could prepare yourself for and find some way to kill. I think that's actually the reason why they gave Kagero so much support on killing Rearguard Circle, because they know it'll probably die without the bastard Denial Griffin motherfucker. Alright then. Do like, comment, and subscribe. I will be doing the double rares, triple rares, and GRs once I get my hands on them. This has been Wheeler the Mercenary King for IYG, signing out.